Hi, we are continuing with the First Samuel series. Almost done with First Samuel now, and this is chapter 30. So we get to see in chapter 29 that Saul had gone and consulted a witch, yeah, and gotten Samuel Saul to be called up, and he told Saul that he was pretty much on his own. So let's see what happens in the great battle of the Philistines. Remember, Saul was consulting the witch because he couldn't hear from God anymore, and they were about to go into battle against the Philistines, and he was really scared. It was the fear that drove him to seek other sources of consulting Samuel. So we see a bit of idolatry there. There's idolatry in the real sense because he goes to a necromancer, something that God had clearly stated should never happen in Israel. So chapter 30 now. In chapter 30, we see that David destroys Amalekites. So right now we are on chapter 29, not 30, sorry. So chapter 29. The Philistines gathered all their forces at Aphek, and Israel camped by the spring in Jezreel. As the Philistine rulers marched with their units of hundreds and thousands, David and his men were marching at the rear of Achish. The commanders of the Philistines asked, "What about these Hebrews?" Achish replied, "Is this not David, who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel? He has already been with me for over a year, and from the day he left Saul until now I have found no fault in him." But the Philistine commanders were angry with Achish and said, "Send the man back, that he may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with us into battle, or he will turn against us during the fighting." Remember that David had joined Achish, the Philistines. "Or he will turn against us during the fighting. How better could he regain his master's favor than by taking the heads of our own men? Isn't this the David they sang about in their dances? Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." So Achish called David and said to him, "As surely as the Lord lives, you have been reliable, and I will be pleased to have you serve with me in the army. From the day you came to me until today, I have found no fault in you, but the rulers don't approve of you. Now turn back and go in peace. Do nothing to displease the Philistine rulers." "But what have I done?" asked David. "What have you found against your servant from the day I came to you until now? Why can't I go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king?" Achish answered, "I know that you have been as pleasing in my eyes as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the Philistine commanders have said, 'He must not go up with us into battle.' Now get up early along with your master's servants who have come with you, and leave in the morning as soon as it is light." So David and his men got up early in the morning to go back to the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel. So we see the Philistines have gathered and they've gone to Aphek, which is Israel's territory. And we find here that he is willing to fight against Saul and his men as a Judean, because as a Philistine on the Philistine side, and the rulers of Philistine feel that of course it is wrong for him to do that because he might just betray them. And even to the testimony of the Philistine ruler, that is Achish, the commander Achish, whom he is now under, there is a testimony that he has not found anything wrong with David, and he has found him absolutely reliable. But David has to turn back, and it's probably for good reason. So we move on now to the next chapter, chapter 30. David and his men reached Ziklag on the third day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it, and had taken captive the women and everyone else in both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way. When David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. David's two wives had been captured, Ahinoam and of Jezreel, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. But David found strength in the Lord his God. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, "Bring me the ephod." Abiathar brought it to him, and David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake them?" "Pursue them," he answered. "You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue." David and the 600 men with him came to the Besor valley, where some stayed behind. 200 of them were too exhausted to cross the valley, but David and the other 400 continued the pursuit. They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. David asked him, "Who do you belong to? Where do you come from?" He said, "I'm an Egyptian, the slave of an Amalekite. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago." We raided the Negev of the Kerethites, some territory belonging to Judah, and the Negev of Caleb, and we burnt Ziklag. David asked him, "Can you lead me down to this raiding party?" He answered, "Swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I will take you down to them." He led David down, and there they were, scattered over the countryside, eating, drinking, and reveling because of the great amount of plunder they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from Judah. David fought them